Hey man, let's get one thing straight right from the start. The chase is an illusion, it's a drug, and the more you indulge in it, the more you lose pieces of yourself without even noticing. The problem isn't her, it's the story you keep telling yourself. The belief that if you just say the right words, show up enough times, or prove yourself in just the right way, she'll finally turn around and see your worth. But that lie is what's killing your time, draining your energy, and slowly robbing you of your masculine edge. Chasing her isn't about her anymore, it's about the lie you're addicted to. See, men chase not because we're desperate by nature, but because somewhere along the way, we were told that love is earned through struggle. That effort equals value. That if you just keep showing up, if you just hold on long enough, she'll reward you with affection. But here's the brutal truth. Love that must be chased is love that doesn't exist. If she wanted you, you wouldn't be running in circles. You wouldn't be proving, you wouldn't be chasing. And the longer you convince yourself that the chase is noble, the more you drift from the grounded, composed man you were born to be. You start doing things that don't even feel like you anymore. You check your phone 20 times a day, hoping she texts. You reread your last message, wondering if you said too much or not enough. You stalk her stories, analyze her likes, look for clues in her silence, and all of it, every bit of it, is stealing your power because your life has become a reaction to someone else's inaction. You've stopped living, you're now just waiting for a sign, waiting for a call, waiting for her to come to her senses. But brother, what you're really doing is waiting for permission to be whole again. We lie to ourselves and say things like she just needs time, or she's scared of how deep our connection is, or she's never met a guy like me. These lies are comforting because they give you hope, and hope feels better than rejection. But hope is only powerful when it's built on truth, not delusion. And if she's not calling, not choosing, not showing up, you don't need more hope. You need clarity. You need to wake up and realize that she's not lost. She's not confused. She knows exactly where you are, and she's not coming. You think if you just love harder, she'll change her mind. You think if you just show how loyal you are, she'll see the light. But love isn't a rescue mission, and loyalty to the wrong woman isn't devotion, it's self-betrayal. Chasing someone who isn't chasing you isn't romance, it's self-abandonment. You're trying to make her your home while she's out renting her emotions to a dozen other experiences. And every time you reach, hoping she'll reach back, all you're really doing is teaching her that your time, your love, your energy, they come cheap. You see, there's a reason why she doesn't respect the man who chases. It's not because she's cruel, it's because women are wired to be drawn to power, and nothing screams weakness louder than a man abandoning himself for someone who won't even look back. When she senses that your center revolves around her, that your every move is calculated to win her affection, she doesn't feel flattered. She feels superior, and the moment a woman feels like she has you on a leash, she stops craving you. You become predictable, familiar, safe, and safety in the emotional world of attraction is death to desire. And here's the bitter part. Deep down, she knows she could have you at any moment. That's why she doesn't rush. That's why she doesn't try. That's why she tests. Because your chase tells her you'll tolerate her confusion. You'll endure her hot and cold. You'll rewrite your boundaries just to stay close. And while she might not consciously exploit that, her subconscious does. It feeds off the certainty of your desperation. It uses your emotional availability as a cushion while she explores her options. And the more you stick around, hoping to be chosen, the more you confirm her unspoken belief. He'll never leave. Brother, you weren't built to orbit someone else's indecision. You were built to lead, to move forward, to create, to build a life so full of purpose that any woman who enters it feels like she's stepping into a world she doesn't want to leave. But chasing her? That's not leadership. That's chasing a mirage. That's standing still while convincing yourself you're making progress. You keep telling yourself that she's different, that what you have is special. But here's the thing, if it was real, you wouldn't have to convince her. She'd feel it too. And you'd both be moving toward each other, not in opposite directions. Most men waste the best years of their life chasing a woman who already made her decision. They sacrifice their energy, their peace, their vision for a maybe, for a hope. For a fantasy that dies a slow death every time she replies with a dry lol or leaves you on read for 3 days. And the damage isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. You start to question your worth. You start to doubt your masculinity. You start to shrink yourself just to fit the mold of what you think she wants. But by doing that, you become a stranger to yourself. And the moment you forget who you are, just to win her over, you've already lost. You don't need more strategies. You don't need more chances. You need discipline. The discipline to walk away when your presence isn't met with gratitude. The discipline to stop showing up for someone who only reaches out when she's bored. The discipline to stop believing that love should hurt this much, because it shouldn't. Real connection doesn't need to be chased. It flows. It's mutual. It grows in truth, not tension. And the longer you chase, the more you distance yourself from the one thing that could actually change your life, your own purpose. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes her obsess. Not the chase, but your refusal to play the game. You've got to understand the difference between effort and obsession. A real man puts in effort for the right woman, but he doesn't obsess. Obsession drains. It robs you of clarity. It hijacks your identity and makes her opinion of you the axis your world spins on. Suddenly, you're no longer doing things because they make sense for you. You're doing them for reaction. Posting to get noticed. Dressing for her taste. Bending your tone, your time, your truth to fit into her expectations. And when you live like that, you're not a man, you're a mirror. Reflecting what she wants, never who you are. And here's the sick twist. The more you chase her, the more she'll test you. Because your chase communicates that her approval is your reward. And if she knows that, she controls you. You'll walk on eggshells to avoid upsetting her. You'll shrink your voice to keep her comfortable. You'll say yes when everything inside you screams no. And every time you fold like that, every time you betray your own instincts to stay in her orbit, you lose a piece of your masculine core. She might keep you around, but not out of love, out of convenience. Because no woman treasures a man she can confuse, control, and predict. You might think the chase shows how much you care. You might believe that persistence proves your love. But let's flip the script. If she wanted you, would she even let you chase her this long? Would she ignore your messages, play mind games, entertain other guys while keeping you on standby? No. A woman who values you makes it clear. A woman who respects you chooses you. And anything less than that isn't romantic. It's rejection dressed up in ambiguity. Stop mistaking her mixed signals for mystery. Stop calling it playing hard to get. She's not hard to get. She's just not getting you. And maybe that's the hardest part to accept, that the version of her you're chasing doesn't even exist. You're not in love with the woman in front of you. You're in love with the idea of who she could be. You're holding on to those moments where she showed you a glimpse of affection, that one weekend where she seemed all in, that one night when she cried in your arms. But if you zoom out, you'll see a pattern, and that pattern doesn't lie. It's full of inconsistency, distance, confusion. You're in love with a highlight reel, not a reality. And until you admit that, you'll keep chasing shadows. You keep telling yourself, she just needs time. But brother, time doesn't turn lukewarm into passionate. Time doesn't make the wrong woman suddenly right. Time doesn't fix one-sided effort. What time does is reveal truth. And if you've been showing up consistently for months or years, and she's still unsure, still playing games, still keeping you at arm's length, that's not a sign to try harder. That's a sign to wake up. The longer you stay in her waiting room, the more of your life you'll miss. Your goals, your peace, your potential. You weren't born to be an option, so stop living like one. You know what real love feels like? Peace, clarity, mutuality. It doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't make you feel like you're walking through a fog, hoping to find something solid. A woman who truly wants you doesn't hide behind silence. She doesn't confuse you for sport. She doesn't dangle affection like a carrot on a string. She shows up, consistently, freely, without needing you to earn every ounce of attention. And until you hold yourself to that standard, you'll keep falling for the ones who use your heart as a placeholder until someone better comes along. It's time to stop chasing and start choosing. Choosing you, choosing your focus, your health, your ambition. Because when you stop chasing women who don't choose you, something crazy happens. Your energy comes back. Your confidence returns. Your mind clears. You start walking taller, talking sharper, moving with power again. You stop feeling like a beggar of attention and start showing up like a man who knows his worth. And ironically, that's when women start noticing, because confidence doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't explain, it just is, and it draws people in, not by force but by gravity. Every man has to go through that one woman who breaks him open, the one who tests every ounce of his strength, the one he couldn't stop chasing even when it destroyed him. But that pain, that heartbreak, it's not a curse, it's a lesson, it's your wake-up call. It's the moment you realize that your life can't revolve around someone else's indecision, that you don't need permission to move forward, that you were never meant to shrink yourself to be loved. And from that wreckage, a new man is born, one who chases nothing but his own purpose, one who leads and never looks back. You're not a boy anymore. Boys chase. Boys confuse chaos with chemistry. Boys think love is about proving, pleading, persuading. But you're stepping into manhood, into silence, into sovereignty, into the unshakable confidence that says, if she can't see my value, I'm gone. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to post quotes or flex online or pretend you're over her. You just move on, quietly, powerfully. With no hard feelings, just a heart that's done begging for breadcrumbs, because you were meant for the feast, not the scraps. So let this be the last day you chase her. Let this be the moment you reclaim your energy. No more overthinking, no more late night texts, no more fighting for a seat at her table. You build your own table now. You set your own standards. You move like a man who's been to hell and chose not to stay, because there's a life out there waiting for you, full of depth and peace and people who see you clearly. But you'll never reach it if you're stuck running after someone who's walking away. Don't waste your life chasing her. You're not here to be picked, you're here to choose. You ever notice how women respect the man who doesn't need them? The man who listens without leaning in, who walks away without hesitation, who can appreciate her beauty without trying to possess it. That's the man she obsesses over, not because he's playing games, but because his validation isn't for sale, because he's not swayed by fleeting attraction or empty promises. That kind of man radiates something deeper than charm. He radiates certainty, the certainty that says, I don't chase, I attract. And if you don't recognize my value, that's your loss, not my identity. When you chase, you lose leverage. You hand over your emotional authority. You say, my happiness depends on how you feel about me. And in doing so, you abandon your masculine foundation. You stop leading, you start reacting. And nothing is more unattractive to a woman than a man who's emotionally needy. You think you're being romantic, but she sees desperation. You think you're being consistent, but she sees obsession. That's the trap. You convince yourself that you're being strong when you're actually just afraid to let go. But real strength, it's in the silence, in the letting go, in walking away and not looking back. And brother, I get it. You remember how she used to look at you, how she used to light up when you entered the room, how she said you made her feel safe, seen, wanted. And that memory, that taste of connection, it's what keeps you hooked. But here's the truth, she changed. Or maybe she never really saw you at all. Maybe you were just a temporary fix to an emotional void, and the moment you tried to turn it into something solid, she vanished. The moment you asked for clarity, she got vague. That's not love. That's emotional tourism. She visited your heart, but never planned to stay. Don't romanticize the pain. Don't make her emotional unavailability some poetic struggle you have to overcome. It's not your job to wait for her potential to bloom. It's not your purpose to unlock the version of her that loves you back. If she's not ready, she's not ready. If she doesn't choose you now, she doesn't deserve you later. You're not a backup plan. You're not the maybe someday guy. You're not the therapist, the hero, the fixer. You're a man with value, a man with standards, a man who walks when he's not being honored. And the sooner you act like it, the faster your life levels up. Every time you chase, you reinforce the idea that she's above you, that she has something you lack, that you need her to be complete. And that mindset, it bleeds into everything. Your work suffers, your self-talk gets darker. You hesitate where you used to move with confidence, because now you're not operating from vision, you're operating from lack. And lack never creates abundance. Neediness never creates attraction. You don't need to become more for her, you need to become more for you. And that starts by removing yourself from anything that makes you forget your power. You think staying will eventually earn you her heart. That consistency will melt her walls. That patience will be rewarded. But what if I told you that your presence isn't building a future? It's enabling her behavior. That every time you stay silent when she's disrespectful, every time you tolerate emotional games, every time you reward her distance with affection, you're teaching her that you'll never leave. And once she knows that, she'll stop trying. She'll stop showing up. Because why would she value what she believes she'll never lose? Start choosing the hard truth over the comfortable lie. The truth that says she's not into me. The truth that says she's breadcrumbing me. The truth that says I'm not her priority. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it shatters the illusion. But that truth, it sets you free. It gives you your life back. It gives you your focus back. Because now you're no longer waiting, you're building. Now you're no longer hoping, you're healing. Now you're no longer chasing, you're creating space for someone who does choose you. And that's where real power begins. A man who stops chasing doesn't become bitter, he becomes focused. He starts filling the void with passion, with discipline, with movement. He hits the gym harder. He stacks his cash. He builds something from nothing, not to prove himself to her, but to prove to himself that he was never broken, never unlovable, never lacking, that it was always about alignment, not worth. And once he locks into that purpose, once he falls in love with progress again, something wild happens. He stops caring who left, because now he sees that losing her wasn't the end, it was the beginning of everything. Let her go. Let the version of her in your head die. Let the fantasy dissolve, because the woman you're chasing isn't real. She's a memory, a projection, a moment frozen in time that no longer exists. And the more you cling to it, the more you blind yourself to what's possible. You can't receive what's meant for you when your hands are full of what's left you. You can't meet someone new when you're emotionally tied to someone who won't claim you. Cut the cord, not out of anger, but out of respect for your future. You've got one life, man. One shot to build something beautiful. Don't waste it on someone who doesn't see you. Don't spend it replaying conversations, rereading texts, reopening wounds that were never meant to be permanent. You were built for more than this. You were made to lead, to conquer, to create. And any woman who gets to stand beside you should add to that, not drain it. So walk away, not with resentment, but with power. Because the minute you stop chasing her is the minute you start chasing you. And that man becomes unstoppable. Every man who has ever risen from heartbreak carries the same scar. The moment he realized he was giving his power to someone who didn't even want to hold it. That pain, it doesn't go away overnight, but it evolves, it transforms. One day, the very memory of her indifference becomes your fuel. Her silence becomes your lesson. Her rejection becomes your direction. Because once you've tasted the depths of emotional starvation, you stop settling for crumbs. You demand presence. You demand truth. And you offer the same in return, not as a favor, but as a standard. You won't even realize how heavy the chase was until you finally drop it, until you wake up and no longer wonder what she's thinking, until you move through your day without imagining a message from her lighting up your screen. That kind of freedom, it's addictive, because your mind finally has space again, space to dream, space to build, space to remember who you were before you forgot yourself in pursuit of someone else. And the man who reclaims that space becomes dangerous in the best way, because now he's no longer seeking validation, he's creating value. You must understand, there's a difference between love and obsession. Love empowers, obsession depletes. Love sees clearly, obsession idealizes. Love grows, obsession traps. And if you feel like you're always giving, always reaching, always waiting, that's not love, that's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough, fear of letting go. But none of those fears are real. They're stories you've carried for too long. And every moment you chase her is a moment you feed those stories. But the second you stop, the silence gets loud, the truth gets louder, and your inner voice finally speaks. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to lead. When you stop chasing her, she'll feel it. Not because you made a dramatic exit, but because your energy shifts, your eyes stop scanning for her. Your body stops leaning in, your spirit closes the open door, and that change, it vibrates. It reaches her in ways words never could, and suddenly the dynamic flips. The man who was always available becomes a mystery. The man who waited becomes the one who moves. The man who begged becomes the one who builds. And whether she comes back or not, it doesn't matter anymore, because you're no longer chasing a woman, you're chasing a life. The man who stops chasing is not cold, he's clear. He's not heartless, he's healed. He's not bitter, he's better, because he's no longer handing out his energy like it's worthless. He knows now that what he brings to the table is rare, his depth, his loyalty, his presence, his strength. Those aren't things you give away for potential, you give them for proof, for alignment, for reciprocity. And if those aren't there, he walks not out of spite, but out of self-respect, because he finally understands that the most masculine thing a man can do is protect his energy. You will be tested. She might reach out when you least expect it. She might try to pull you back into the game. She'll send a "Hey stranger" text. She'll like your story. She'll flirt with the idea of reconnection. But remember, those are breadcrumbs, not invitations. That's not love, it's control. And if you're not grounded, you'll take the bait. You'll convince yourself it means something, and the cycle will begin again. But this time, you know better. This time, you'll pause. You'll breathe. You'll remember the nights you cried over silence, the days you felt invisible, the moments you begged to matter, and you'll say no, not to her, but to the version of yourself that accepted less. Reclaiming your power means rewriting your story. It means telling yourself a new truth. I'm not hard to love, I just gave my love to the wrong person. It means seeing your past, not as failure, but as feedback. You weren't weak for caring, you weren't foolish for trying, you were just operating from hope instead of clarity. But now you see, now you feel the difference, now you move different, and the world responds to that shift. Opportunities open, people respect you more. Women look at you differently, not because you became someone else, but because you finally returned to yourself. You are not her savior. You are not her therapist. You are not her emotional ATM. You are a man with vision, direction, and depth. And the woman who deserves to stand beside you will meet you there. She won't make you guess. She won't test your limits. She won't dangle her love like a reward. She'll show up fully, because you're not chasing anymore, you're attracting. And that kind of power, it can't be faked. It's built, it's lived, it's owned. You didn't lose her, you found you. And in that process, you discovered the kind of strength that no heartbreak can ever take again. So let the world say what it wants. Let her wonder why you stopped chasing. Let her feel the emptiness of your absence. You don't need to explain. You don't need closure. Your silence is the statement. Your growth is the revenge. Your peace is the victory. Because you've stepped into a higher standard now. And that standard doesn't bend for beauty. It doesn't chase confusion. It doesn't fight for attention. It simply walks away from anything that doesn't honor it. And that walk, that's your freedom. That's your fire. That's your future calling. Brother, this is your season. Not for begging, not for proving, not for waiting. This is your season for becoming. Becoming the man who's too focused to chase, too grounded to be swayed, too wise to fall for potential, too valuable to waste time. Because once you reach this place, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your standards elevate, your life begins to reflect the man you were always meant to be. And from that place, love doesn't confuse you, it finds you, it respects you. And if it doesn't, you keep walking. Because you don't chase women, you build empires, and let the right one find her way in.